Hello and welcome to this 5 tips and tricks Mobalytics video. I am Virakayu, a jungle main YouTuber, and this is the third in our collaborative installment, and what better jungle to focus on than the ever adaptable and venerable Kha'Zix. As always, if you enjoy the video and would like to see more from us, please let us know what champion you would like to see next in the comments below, along with generously donating a click of the like button. Now for the first tip of this video, we must give an outline of why this champion never seems to disappear unless Riot decrees it so. Common with his in-game evolutions, Kha'Zix also has an unseeing ability to match many runes. Electrocute is the most reliable early game damage rune, and later in the game will almost guarantee you a kill onto a squishy target. It will do the most isolated damage and can ensure domination over any 1v1 fights at level 6 with an evolved Q and of course isolation bonus. However, where Kha'Zix is similar to Rengar and differs to many other assassins in the game is that he has a fundamental and necessary interaction with auto attacks in his combos. His fight patterns require it to ensure the maximum DPS. And this is because of his passive, which we will talk about a bit later in the video, but due to this passive and the fact that he has a slow in his evolved W, has an invis ultimate, as well as different evolution patterns that you can choose, his kit naturally does very well with Conqueror. The common rule of thumb and the central point of the rune tip can be that when you have 3 melees against you, or just a natural tankier and more bruisier enemy lineup, you won't be able to burst anyone down with Electrocute. This really hits hard when you use your Electrocute and you don't actually get a kill with it, and now it's on cooldown. You are losing valuable damage output while you weave in the rest of the long fight combos. For this reason, Conqueror can become absolutely supreme. The healing helps you sustain along with the W, and the bonus AD stacking up to 10 stacks can result in significant added damage that not only affects your auto attacks, but also your spell casting, specifically that evolved Q. This means that throughout a long fight versus a bruiser more tankier team composition, who will be stacking HP as well as resistances, you can even throw in those tilting healers and shielders that you might actually see, you will simply become stronger in fights and be able to maintain that damage output and healing for the duration of the fight. This is only amplified when you have your R evolved, as such that you can reset your passive more often and use the power of that bonus AD. And in conclusion, if you are against mostly squishies with no form of peel or sustained fight, go Electrocute, build lethality, take them all out in one burst combo. Maybe you even want to go Dark Harvest for the resets. If you can see a strong lineup of melees and tanks, maybe some Sennas and Jannas, because we love them so much, feel free to go Conqueror and dominate those team fights in the game in a very different way. Now, having this extra build versatility that many champions do not is all well and good, but it's useless if you don't know some fundamental advanced tips on getting off your damage as fast as possible. And while this concept is fundamental to playing assassins, it's still important with Conqueror that you know these things because you do want to get 10 stacks as fast as possible. So on that note, this W flash mechanic, we need to talk about it to make sure that damage output is as high as possible at all times. Now observe how this practice dummy is destroyed by a very classic flash W auto Q. Looks good? I disagree. Looks clumsy and it takes a lot of time. You actually want to W, immediately flash afterwards, and then Q and auto. It is important to note that the unseen threat auto attack passive applies as a 25% slow to the target hit, and it's highly likely you won't be in super close melee range after you flash. This means you actually want to Q after you flash W, as the evolved W will apply a 90% slow to an isolated target, so you won't need the slow from your passive auto attack, and this gives you time to sight the enemy with your enlarged plus 50 Q range giant claw things. And then you can auto attack to apply additional slows, and honestly, if the target isn't yet dead, he will be praying to the Lord of the Flies for a swift end. But if you have not evolved W and you want to try this mechanic, it would be good to flash W as in the same way, but then auto before you Q in order to proc the slow such that you can actually go ahead and get the Q damage off. So with evolved W, you simply W flash, Q auto. With no evolved W, you W flash, auto Q. This gives you the best sequence of events in order to get off your damage. You want to give the enemy as little time to react as possible and not let them avoid the righteousness that you want to rain down upon them. And using mechanics like this will allow you to make those game-changing plays each and every time you queue up. To that end, evolving E has long been considered quote-unquote quite overrated. You could do it when turbo smurfing, but otherwise the utility, combative advantage, and teamfight poetry is best achieved with a QWR evolve combo. However, the nuances of which evolve to choose and when is largely matchup and playstyle dependent, and also not really the topic of the video, so let's focus on a mechanic you should be using whether you evolve the E or not, and that's using Kha'Zix's Q while in midair. If you use your leap, the E, to jump to gap close, evolved or not, you do not want to land before using the Q. Look at this example. Jump, land, Q. It looks clunky, right? You're not getting off as much damage in a shorter window as possible. When you E, you want to use the Q while mid-air before you land, as this gives the enemy no time to escape your demonic embrace. It's the same principle as the previous tip, where the goal is as much damage in a shorter time as possible. Because you can buffer your Q while jumping, it lets you easily charge it up, so as soon as you land you get the damage from the E plus the isolated damage from the Q, and then you can follow this up with an auto W, and all within one swift motion. Now I know a lot of you probably know this mechanic and you've seen it mentioned before, but a great Kha'Zix player will always properly use the unseen threat as basically a fifth ability, because it really is that powerful. When an enemy loses sight of you, it means your next basic attack will deal bonus magic damage, which is imperative to note because while it does scale with attack damage, the damage dealt is magic and can be huge when using Conqueror into those tanky team comps that might have a lot of armor stacking. And as I mentioned earlier in the video, it does slow the target by 25%, which so enables that classic Kha'Zix stickiness. This simply means you should be using bushes and corners to move out of sight in order to refresh it, and every time it is refreshed, you can notice this on your HUD when you're playing, you want to be using that auto attack. That's why those messy fights around dragons can become frustrating for enemies, as Kha'Zix does this and keeps getting a refresh on that bonus damage. And as a simple application, it's also a useful tool to note if vision is in a bush. If your passive is down and then it pops up, then you know there's no vision and no one can see you. And to transition that point, this is why R Evolve is probably the most important aspect of using Kha'Zix to win games. The fundamental combo is R, Auto, W, Q. You want to keep doing that as much as possible throughout a fight. And this combination is much quicker than doing ultimate auto QW, just in terms of the animation cancelling and getting out your DPS. That auto attack is your passive, and each time you use your Void Assault with the ultimate, it will refresh so you can play around your cooldowns and bushes to either finish a target or re-navigate to another target for extra damage, no matter what runes you choose. The R Evolve gives you 3 activations of that ultimate, and that means an extra use of the passive as well. So when it comes time for those team fights, you have to consider the matchups and how well you want to navigate using that R to position yourself and use the tricks mentioned in this video to dish out this disturbing DPS. As a bonus tip on the ultimate, the R, as a reminder, please note that using it means you avoid unit collision so you can actually move through minions. Yes, no longer shall the range of the tiny beings force you to path around their lane blockages. I hope these tips and playstyle suggestions help you evolve your Kha'Zix gameplay and also leapfrog it to new heights. And okay, I'll stop. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to comment below what champions you'd like to see next. Please do like, share, and subscribe if you enjoyed and want to see more. Don't forget to have a look at our other 2 Virakalytics videos. And as always, I will see you all in the next video.